let's start off with is a roll call. I have the agenda up. Frank, if you have yours up.
Okay.
Where's my presentation? The agenda's on the board, and I have, you guys can look at this. It's for all the board members. What I'm going to do is a roll call first. Is there anybody on the phone from the satellite offices?
Frank's here.
Frank, I know, with CityNet and one of our telecom partners and technology working group lead. Anybody else? Okay. So roll call. I've got Art Miser, Chuck Wright, Mark Elliptis, Doug Veligal. You on, Doug? So Doug's not on. He's in Morgantown. I know he had a company meeting tonight, so he's going to try to call in. And Santoro is not here also. Yeah. Who just joined? Hello?
Doug Veligal?
Hey, we were just talking about you, Doug. Okay, we just did a roll call. Just started the meeting.
How you doing, BJ?
Good. I don't know if I even sent you the presentation, so just kind of listen along, and we'll catch up when you get back.
Okay, great.
But Santo's out, so and I didn't have anybody from the satellite office on. So up the beginning, on the agenda up on the slide is what we're going to go over tonight. We have some new business to talk about in front of us, and we talked about this in our working sessions. The first one is resolution number 3 for election of officers to the board. We have a board of directors established, but we need to finalize the election of officers. Can I have a motion to elect the officers as listed? Okay, a second?
Second.
Doug seconded. All right, Doug. Quietly from here. Any discussion or questions? What we have as the chairman is Benedict J. DeFelice, that's myself, Vice Chair Doug Veligal, Secretary Mark Elliptis, Treasurer Dan Wilson, who's our acting treasurer, and the Executive Director is appointment pending. We'll talk about that over the next month of working sessions. Another discussion? Okay, so that resolution is in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign this. And, I have to take a vote. Sorry, yeah. All right, let's take a vote. Yeah, you're right. All the in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Ayes have it. Thank you, Kevin. The next order of business on the new business is I received today a letter from Dr. Brown, and I'll read the letter for everybody on the phone. It's a letter from the Executive Director, Dr. John C. Brown, Brook Hancock Chair of the Planning Commission. And he was requesting us to submit a letter of support for the Brook Hancock Regional Planning and Development Council's application to participate in U.S. EPA brownfield assessment. And that's really all he asked in his email. And I put together a letter here that I can sign if I get we'll do another vote of support or any questions on this one. I don't know how to start this. Do I have any motion to review to discuss this letter and pass?
Move to approve the letter.
Okay, second. Mark seconds. All right. Any questions on the letter? Any comments? No issues? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so that letter passes. We will sign the letter of support for EPA assistance. And I can talk a little bit more about that. And that's it for any new business. Did I miss anything?
Just one item.
Go ahead.
Just a clarification on the election of the officers. We just wanted to, just for the record, and because of an issue that Dan has, just to note the
acting treasurer. Right.
We wanted
to clarify.
Just want to make sure.
Indiana for that.
Right. Understood. Yes. Yeah, Dan Wilson's acting treasurer for now. He's not a board member, so for those on the phone or in the audience, just to clarify that for Dan so that everybody understands. The next portion is a presentation I did. We went as a team with CityNet, Da Vinci, and Gracie to U.S. Department of Transportation, Intelligent Transportation Systems, last week in Washington, D.C. And I have a slide presentation. We'll go to the next slide, Frank. It's just the first one. We presented on our governance model. Next slide, Frank. The executive meeting, we went over the port's legislative port authority, the governance model, the organizational compliance, multimodal geographical advantage of the region, what's in the region, the assets in the region, and regulatory, legislative, and technology infusion, technology transfers, and then went over the structure, the public benefit governance of the Weirton area Port Authority governance, the Port Authority Incorporated, and then the for-profit LLC on the P3 6320 structure, and the focus in the intelligent transportation system, which is a program office. These are programs of record. They're national and local, national and regional programs. It's non-earmark funding, so it qualifies as not an earmark, so you don't have to worry about the earmark ban. And we went and met with them on our model to see how we can work together with the U.S. Department of Transportation and their intelligent transportation systems. Go to the next slide. Also, before I go through this slide, we're also talking with the Brooke Hancock Jefferson Metropolitan Planning Commission. They had started a program in 2007 called RAMP, Regional Access Mobility Partnership, and they were from 2007 to 2009. And I talked with Mike Paprocki, who's the lead transportation director at the Brooke Hancock Metropolitan MPC. And we're also working with the Weirton Area Ambulance Service and fitting their vehicles with automatic vehicle locators. So and helping with software, we did a website for them. They had a static site. They now have a website that's part of the membership. So they have 4 or 5 nice pictures on the website and different tabs like ours. It looks a lot like ours. We're going to continue to work to establish their own unique email addresses. Right now I think they use Gmail, but they'll have @wars.net or @wars.org, whatever domain we get. And they'll be able to use that equipment and be able to track their vehicles within a 60-second accuracy of where they are. I think today it's every 15 minutes they can actually see where the vehicle is. And so we can get them within 60 seconds with the equipment that's out there today and putting this device in, which is a port approved. It's tested and approved through the engineering test center. But so those are a couple of programs we're working on here. So when we went to the Department of Transportation, we again went to introduce ourselves to them and discuss with them opportunities and make them aware of our model, which aligns perfectly with a variety of different programs. And so the first slide up here is some of us have seen before. It's the public entity P3 governance. Again, we got our powers and duties in 2001. Then we qualified into the Federal Assistance Program and Joint Program Offices in June 2011. We're in the midst of our IRS 6320 model, which is a public benefit corporation model, and the diligence is in process. It's not for profit, public benefit corporation. And then we also have, part of that is the Water Resources Development Act of 1999, where Section 557 focuses on Weirton, and where our model now can bring the features, the new technologies that have come into play since 1999 into that amendment and move beyond 99 and really bring technology to bear in the Water Resources Development Act to improve the waterways, the movement of barges through the locks and dams, et cetera. It also ties into, the program office work in a whole variety of transportation. If you go on the Intelligent Transportation System website, you can actually go into each of these variety of programs and see regions that have implemented them, and you can see what they say, what they approved in efficiency, what they approved in reduced accidents, what they approved in time of response. So there's a variety of good data that's not just an opinion of somebody, but real cities that have deployed some of these programs. And then we went over our model, private charter membership, not-for-profit governance. What's included in that is our suppliers, standard and preferred. We have strategic partners. We have our port credit line is in process and the credit structure. And then, again, finance and compliance. The third entity in this P3 model is the for-profit, which will be West Virginia Communications LLC, which is a for-profit business that actually takes the private money and the public money the public money comes from state, federal, or local to WAPA governance to then WAPA Inc. And then that money through our board's approval, WAPA Inc.'s partnership with the private entities into this LLC, West Virginia Communications LLC, which actually operates, builds, designs the network. And that's the whole point, and that's how you get the public and private money together. That's the model. Next slide. Just a picture of the organizational structure. And if anybody has any questions, chime in. I'll take questions. But the diagram basically depicts the West Virginia Department of Transportation at the top, the West Virginia Public Port Authority, again, an MOA partner of ours, and then our authority, Weirton Area Port Authority, comes under the Public Port Authority through their powers and duties that they provided, and we were deemed back in 2001. Then the not-for-profit Public Benefit Corporation, Weirton Area Port Authority, Inc., IRS 6320, and then the for-profit Public Benefit Corporation, which is West Virginia Port Communications, and that's where you build an operating agreement, and we'll partner. WAPA will partner with Da Vinci and Gracie Wireless to put the team together to actually be able to design, build, operate, maintain, finance this network project, which then is still owned by this governance and port authority, and it says it's DBOMF-T, transferred back after a certain term, so it's 30-year terms with usually 2 extensions to 90 years, because as we discussed in many of our meetings, we're not telecom operator guys. We're a governance board, and the goal is to make this public benefit and bring technology and employment opportunities and economic development to the area. Our region is Brooke and Hancock County today. We have been, and we'll talk a little bit more, invited by the Port of Huntington and the Port of Pittsburgh to come and talk to them, to look at working together with them. Huntington called the week before last, and we've been talking with the Port of Pittsburgh. They were here last week. Next slide. Again, this is more focused into the Weirton Area Port Authority, Inc. and the structure. And today we have, and it shows Weirton Area Port Authority governance with an executive director that we said will be to be determined and appointed pending contract appointment later. The Port Authority has a president and CEO, and then under the Port Authority we have working groups that are made up of members and port-related people. For example, the technical working group is led by Frank Boscarello and CityNet, and we have Thrasher, CityNet, Da Vinci, Gracie Wireless, working on the technical aspects of our projects, reviewing the technical finance working group, again with Dan Wilson with Botkins, Wilson, and Kosecki. How do you say it? Kazicki. I always get that name wrong. And then Chase, J.P. Morgan Chase out of Wheeling and West Banco. Security working group is right now led by Rick Alderton. He's Chief Master Sergeant, retired from the West Virginia National Guard. He'll lead up that group. And then Doug Velagal is one of our board members and Global Director of Manufacturing and Strategy for Mylan Pharmaceuticals. He's leading up the compliance and Six Sigma aspects, and he's been working with the London office, Nigel Devanis, and Nimbus Software over the last couple of weeks on the tools. Next slide. Again, memorandum of agreements that just highlights here a couple of the partners in the Intelligent Transportation System discussion. Brooke Hancock, Jefferson Metropolitan Planning Commission, and Weirton Area Ambulance and Rescue Squad. And there's also the Eastern West Virginia Regional Airport Authority. Again, that's Martinsburg, the largest airport in the state, and they'll come to play in the transportation system. There's equipment that comes to bear in there, and a variety of other opportunities. Stevens Institute of Technology, and again, our satellite offices will be involved as required and as partnered with and determined prudent. Next slide. This was the list we presented to them. It's just some of the stakeholders and the characteristics of the stakeholders. A key for federal programs and the Homeland Security and the port security related work is SWIM and SOA compliance equipment. SWIM is system-wide information management, and SOA is service-oriented architecture. These are required technology characteristics of the equipment that we're going to be using and the technology we use for the federal programs. And social networks enabled, so they can be, I think I read an article today where there are, Canadian Northern Railroad has put an app out for iPhones that the customers can see their shipments spread on their iPhone exactly where they are. And that technology helps improve efficiency. So instead of going on and looking and seeing where it was yesterday, which some of the technology is today, we can now see exactly where it is today, and the rate of speed and the temperature and everything else. But again, in this, we have 45 members now on the port. They include government, banking, healthcare, emergency services, transportation companies, telecommunications companies, IT technologies, and we have international interest. Nimbus is a good example, compliance, TIBCO, Cincinnati office, but it's also an international-based firm. ACV, I don't remember the acronym for that, international. We've got a variety of international partners. Next slide. Again, the 4 regions right now. Again, you see Huntington highlighted on here. We're going to start. We've had some discussions with the Region 11, Region 9, and Region 6 with Huntington. So Region 9, I think, is Martinsburg. Region 6 is Morgantown. Region 11's our area, and then Huntington. We were all on the phone. The Economic Development Councils and myself, and they're looking at pulling together unification of like economic development in the port, the various port authorities, to work and see how we in this model can work with them to develop the whole aspect of what we're doing to these 4 parts of the state. And it's been growing. You can see we started with Weirton, then Weirton's Martinsburg, now Morgantown and Huntington are interested. So the model's pretty good, and the growth has been pretty good, and now it's a matter of working with them to develop some joint synergies. Next slide. This is, again, some of the regional assets, dispatch centers, emergency response, law enforcement, anchor institutions. It's how they've been labeled with the Broadband Deployment Council. And they're key areas. A lot of the broadband deployment anchor institutions, they didn't capture transportation-related assets. They were more public safety, schools, hospitals, stuff like that. So we bring the transportation sector into play and tie it in with that. And again, we're a fee-for-service-based, revenue-generating, self-sustaining authority, which is a little bit different than many of the other organizations through the past that were dependent on grants and budgeting. Next slide. This is a picture of a lot of the assets. You can see chemical plants, steel mills, the whole region, southwestern PA, northern West Virginia. It covers, again, the Ohio River, the Mon River, and the Allegheny. Shows how we really tie into Pittsburgh. We're working very hard to get a regional operations center and a river information center in Weirton. The river information center will be the only one in the country. So it's a very big deal, and we'll be working with the Coast Guard and the Army Corps and the Pittsburgh District to do all we can to win that here for Weirton or the Northern Panhandle, Weirton, Chester, whoever is best suited for it. They'll come in and help us pick the exact location. But the importance is there's a lot of critical infrastructure and key resources on the rivers and waterways that aren't secure, and the transportation modes that aren't secure, and these intelligent transportation systems affect all of those areas. Next slide. Again, the network design, and highlighted in yellow is the high-tech corridor, where we have a variety of federal agencies that Frank, you can correct me, and I don't believe they're connected to the national backbone right now. In our network, connect them. Is that right, Frank?
That is correct.
Yeah, so that's one of the key activities. We have NASA, NOAA, the FBI Center, the Biometrics Center. I think there's 7 or 8 in the state. And so one of our objectives and one of the benefits of our projects and our network is we can actually connect them to the national backbone and bring them into play into the national assets and get online on the high-speed fiber. Next slide. And this is just a pictorial of an operations center inside where in an event or catastrophe or a disaster, this is going to be one of the most secure and robustly supported structures in the region, so that when there's power outages or flooding in Weirton, the city of Weirton, the bottom floor of the buildings in the flood zone. So this will allow for a grouping of public safety officials to come to a place that's going to have its own power and be up and running quickly, which then goes to the resiliency of the community, how fast we can get communications back online, how fast we can deploy resources to, for example, the water outage we had in Weirton. There was, it was a situation where it was a surprise, and a lot of the elderly couldn't carry the water bottle, the buffaloes to the car. And it wasn't anyone's fault, it was just we weren't expecting 5 days of that. So this helps put a lot of plans in place and resources in place that outline for those things and have this structure where there's an operations center that's quickly managed and it can cover the whole region. And the last slide, the next slide, Frank, is a little bit of an update for some of the board of what's going on in the Inc. world, but it's the overall structure. The memorandum of you can see at the top, General Electric Capital Aviation Services. I've been in discussions with them. They're very interested in working with our port, and they're going to do a quite high level and very diligent due diligence activities on the structure and on the resiliency, sustainability for investment purposes. Then we have other, and they'll be investing in the project if we, I think we're all stood up. We're all basically organized properly today. Then we have Links Group and Avia Solutions. They're global multimedia or multimodal subject matter experts. They're also in the queue. They'll also be doing a review of the real estate and the air operations, and that's where Martinsburg Airport comes in. Martinsburg is the largest airport in the state, but cannot receive freighters today. FedEx and UPS would love to land in Martinsburg instead of Dulles or Baltimore because it's smaller, less congested, less costly. But because of the airport is not developed and the structure is in flux, we can help them in Martinsburg actually develop and improve, put the right improvements in place to bring that in. And what that does is then it ties that UPS, FedEx, and others, cargo locks out of international, to then send feeders to Wheeling, Morgantown, and Tri-State, which then opens up a whole variety of logistics opportunities, businesses in this whole state of West Virginia, and up here in Weirton with trucking and rail. So that's where a lot of that comes into play. So you'll see in the third block down, independent valuation, which we have Next-Gen Logistics Village, Supply Chain Corridor. Logistics villages, as we've discussed in the past, are really business communities and communities organized around a variety of logistics, whether it be customs clearing, foreign trade zone. Again, what great features to have in this region, and that attracts businesses, low cost, ease of use, quick through customs. And then that's where the West Virginia Port Communications LLC organization, who will be receiving the concession. The concession is a license to manage the frequencies, a license to operate the business that we're enabling here at this governance body. And the concession members we have on this chart, Weirton Area Port Authority, Da Vinci Solutions, Gracie Wireless, and CityNet. Again, that's the four groups that will be in the concession holder, and a percentage of the revenue from that for-profit agency based on our percentage, which hasn't been defined yet, will come back to this Port Authority. So that's one of the means of revenue. So as they provide network services to the FAA, and the FAA, as a customer, as an example, pays for that data, it goes into this for-profit company. That company generates revenue, and a portion of that comes to us. In addition to our sponsorship, membership, donations, and M&A, and management and administration. So, for example, the Brooke Hancock Planning Economic Development, if we were to sponsor an actual funding of $1 million through there, we get an M&A fee, 3 or 5%, basically a commission. We manage the money through, we're the fiduciary agent for it, and the M&A covers the management of that. So we'll be self-sustaining, and then we have it's a variety of areas of revenue potential. I mean, to me, it's unlimited. I could probably talk for 30 minutes on the different ways we can get revenue into this LLC. So it's a very solid model, and we're in the midst of all this right now from the WAPA Inc. perspective. Yes, sir. Sure.
So, concession members of WAPA is...
Yes, we're WAPA Inc. Yeah, it should be Inc. on there, but yeah, it's Weirton Area Port Authority Inc. here. It doesn't have the Inc. on that block, but yeah, the Inc. is here. Thanks, Dan. That's perfect. And we'll update this too. So and that's general. That's the presentation we gave to the Department of Transportation, and they were in the first few minutes trying to understand where we are, what are we doing. And when they got through it, the questions really started coming, and there's a variety of opportunities there. They've actually taken an action to go back to their legal group to look at ways that we can also facilitate the movement of money to the community. We talked a little bit about the Chocolate City Council, so how do we give money back, and what other types of projects. They do a lot of R&D in this department right now. It's not so much deployment, but there's a variety of methods of how we can, whether it be through cooperative research and development agreements, we can actually work with them and transfer technologies into the region. So, and that's just one program office. We'll have the FAA program office. There'll be a variety of program offices. And our model, one of the unique questions that was asked, and this is how you know they didn't think we were a crackpot, we were real businesses. They asked if we'd gone to the White House yet to talk to the technology department. And we haven't, but that the program office of the United States Department of Transportation suggested us talk to the White House. It's a pretty big deal, I think, for this region. So we're on the right track, as we can see by the growth and interest of both private and the other ports and economic development groups. So everything's been, growing by leaps and bounds exponentially. Are there any questions from the board or anybody in the audience? Any other comments or additions anybody wants to add? Which czar? No, I don't know the czars. We'll have to ask that. I didn't look that up for tonight. That's all right. What it is, I'm not going to tell you. All right. So that's the presentation. And if there are no questions, we'll go back to the agenda. I want to just make a couple of other comments, and then if there's we have a meeting. WAPA Inc. has a meeting, and I'll be at the Pittsburgh Port Commission on November 8th, presenting our model to their technology team, and our technology team will be with us. And then that's number 5. And number 6 on the agenda, we're going to be changing the location of the meetings. The city of Weirton and their new administration is working through understanding where all their assets are and getting control of their assets. And with us here in the fire department, they felt it was a little bit confusing. So we're going to move to the next meeting, maybe the next couple of meetings, to the USW Local 2911 Union has been gracious enough to offer us the use of their meeting hall upstairs. So we have to coordinate with their schedule, but in the evenings look to be okay. So next meeting will be downtown on 2971 West Street, and Weirton will be the same. Last Wednesday of November, the 30th, 6 p.m. except for the holidays. And then, so that's a little bit of an adjustment and logistics here. So we'll be removing the network and stuff. And I don't know, you might have known this already, but we'll talk with you. And then, is there any old business that I haven't covered from you guys on the board that you want to mention or bring up questions? Doug, is there anything you want to add or questions on business?
No, BJ, I'm good. I just wanted to, with the compliance software and everything, that we are moving forward with that. That's a great conversation. So we should have that portion built out by the end of the year, I'm feeling.
Okay, great, Doug. And we'll put a little presentation up or a few slides on the compliance software. We mentioned it a couple of months ago. It's Nimbus. And we had Sam Loco on one of the calls out of Cincinnati. Tipco bought Nimbus, so those are the two companies. But
yeah, and the essence of the software, it's a very user-friendly software. It'll have the regs that you need to follow. The other nice part about it, it does give you the workflows and the to-dos that are required by board members or people from the WAPA Inc. So if there's training that you need, it'll guide you through that and everything, or documents that you need to read. So it will keep the WAPA and the WAPA Inc. Following correct compliance. So
that's the tool actually keeps us so that we're doing exactly what's required by law.
Exactly, and then also as you as president will be able to see everybody's to-do list. So if someone is not keeping up, then you're able to see that and encourage them to view the required documents or presentation.
I've gone through a training demo on the tool. It's very good. We had similar tools at GE where it's all online. So you basically get an email or some kind of notification that have a document, you have something to do, and you click on the link and you're in the tool and you do it. So you're not chasing people around or somebody lost the paper or forgot. And there's, we can also see response times and how long it takes. And, somebody can say, hey, this is too much, we need help, or they're keeping right up or whatever. It helps, we call it digitize the process, so it's all automated.
Right.
Yep. Any other comments? Go ahead, Art.
I know it's early on. I think it's early on. It concerns me that the push early is going to be the river. And once in the owns within 5 foot of the high side, I think the law. Things could happen in that 5 feet. I wanted to resume there to exploring the counties that border the river in a high to get involved.
Yeah, what Art's question was, because the West Virginia owns within 5 feet of the river on the Ohio side, was there any merit in getting some of the state of Ohio counties involved? And yeah, I think so. And I think that's one of the reasons we started with the BHJ. But I think as we get the structure more in place, we've been focused heavily on the structure and the diligence and getting all the proper business models in place and compliance. That's probably, and I think that's going to come up in the next few months, Art. Exactly. It's a good point, and I'll write this down to make sure that we can talk about some of the people you know in Jefferson County and Columbiana County. I know we talked with Jim McCarville at the meeting about the Columbiana County Wellsville Port Authority and Tracy Drake, and they're doing a variety of things, and we're I haven't spoke with Don Mucci, but I know he's in Jefferson County and the mayor's student bill. So there's going to be, I think there's a lot of benefit, and that's another reason for Santo. Santoro has the union on both sides of the river, so I think you're right on, Art, with that comment, and that's going to be some of the, probably earlier in next year, because a lot of it's going to be this year, just getting the business models in place and the organizations in place, funding, and it's a variety of things. Any other questions before I move to adjourn? Frank, you have anything you want to add?
No. Good job, BJ.
Okay, thanks, Frank. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Second? Mark seconds? Okay. The meeting is adjourned. 35 minutes. No records for this so far. All right, thanks, Frank, and I'll be
Thank you.
Tomorrow, probably. All right, buddy.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, BJ.
Hey, you're welcome, Doug. Thanks for calling in.
Yes, sir. And I'll see you next Thursday for sure. But I do want to download with you probably over the weekend so we can touch base.
Yeah, call me whenever you want. I'll make time.
Okay. Thank you.